I'm Charles Ellison. I'm based in Washington, D.C. Publicly, I'm known as the host, executive producer of, and creator of Reality Check. It's a daily public affairs program on WURD Talk Media, which is based in Philadelphia. So I do that each day. Also an anchor for something called City Council Live. But I am also principal chief strategist of BE Strategy, a firm which I founded. It's a strategic communications boutique firm which is based in the DC area. I'm also a member of the Learn for Life National Advisory Board.
Yeah, the CLMI Fellowship to me is a program that we started having conversations about a year ago with Charles Ellison, who is the director of the program, talking about how we get students real life experience in the fundamentals of journalism, editorial narrative, and storytelling.
This is the type of fellowship that is designed for young people who have a real interest in the media environment and are also very curious about and at the same time struggling to understand the political and public policy making process. Summarize that for us briefly, talk about how useful still those tools can be for communication in a moment of disaster and crisis.
Yeah, like I said earlier, information is power. So what I do with FEMA is I give information to those disaster relief victims. Thinking of what I did in Puerto Rico, there was barely any infrastructure when I touched down in Puerto Rico after the hurricanes basically decimated many communities. But a lot of people, they had access to their phones. So being able to send out messaging related to this is where you can go for food, this is where you can go for water. But even more importantly, this is how you start to rebuild.
The ambition of this thing you're looking at is to try to define the units of persuasion or of influence.
What do you think is the model, the standard, the golden standard for good governance?
Well, I think it's to ensure that those who have the least are given every single opportunity to succeed. I think it's giving for my time in public service when I was a legislator, I fought for schools just like Learn for Life. There are very few charter schools in the country at the time I was elected, and I wanted to expand the number of charter schools. I wanted to give parents and students every single opportunity to find a school that worked best for them.
Has the legislator become more critical with the issues that the nation has faced in the past 2 years and the issues that they're facing now, like the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement, and the issue with George Floyd?
It's a very good question.
So what has happened is that you've always had legislators of color on the battle lines, right? Like they've always been at the forefront of trying to get this stuff, getting these difficult issues for their communities tackled in the state legislatures. What has happened with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and the Black Lives Matter movement is that it's been amplified through media. Like journalists have picked up the banner and they are writing about it differently. And so that then sheds the light on what's happening in state government.
Tyler Polley said something to me that I live with to this day. And he said, you don't have to dumb down your language to the people because the people aren't stupid, but you should talk to them directly, and you can't spoon feed a baby a turkey. So he said that to me, and that informs how I write. I'm not going to write over your head. I'm going to write to you. I'm going to write for you. I'm going to write from a basic, centered place, so that you can connect with it and get it. I don't want to write above people or use a bunch of theatrical words that sound great and a lot of syllables. I want to get to the point. And I think that's what writing for the web has done for me. It's taught me how to use language in a more efficient way.
All right, welcome to our Civic Literacy and Media Influence week number 7 session. I'm Charles Ellison. I'm the host of today's program, and joining us now is Ali Nelson. He is a CLMI fellow, also contributor to the bnote.com, recently wrote this piece called Understanding the Cryptoverse, a primer on the explosive growth of cryptocurrency, how it works, and where it's headed. Good afternoon to you, Ali. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine today. How are you doing?
All right, good. So cryptocurrency, what is that all about? When we hear cryptocurrency, there's a lot of folks out there that don't understand exactly what that is. Like, just give us a top line definition of it.
People can look at cryptocurrency as essentially a digital currency, a digital dollar, pretty much.
Digital dollars. So, but normally we're calling this Bitcoin. Why are people calling cryptocurrency Bitcoin instead?
Well, that's because Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency ever made in 2009 after, the financial market crash. A man came out named Satoshi, and he made the whole blockchain system, and the first token he made was called Bitcoin. So all cryptocurrencies are pretty much based on Bitcoin because it was the first. It's the father of all cryptocurrencies. What people need to understand is that Bitcoin is no longer the only or main cryptocurrency. There are millions of other cryptocurrencies right now.
Got it. So you mentioned blockchain. I've heard that term used quite a bit before. I have no idea what blockchain is, and I know there are other folks who are listening in who are like, blockchain, what does that mean exactly?
Blockchain is the database that cryptocurrency is based off of. The same way that banks use a centralized server, centralized meaning there's many different computers running into one computer where they basically validate all the transactions. The blockchain is the same on the aspect that it's decentralized. There's no main authority governing it. Because that was a problem during the financial market crash. So what we have is that the blockchain is called a blockchain because the transactions are validated through blocks. There's a block that contains a certain amount of transactions, and once this amount of transactions is validated, it connects to the previous block before that. And every time a new block comes and it gets validated, they all connect each other through a chain. That's why it's called a blockchain. It's literal. Well, the thing about cryptocurrency is that the whole purpose is that it is decentralized. Cryptocurrency was not made to be centralized. The problem was when the financial market crashed, we had hyperinflation coming and people were losing faith in their governments, losing faith in the bank system, losing faith in the entire financial system.
What I'm expecting, like after a program like this, after an intensive 12 weeks like this, are young people who eventually are becoming much more confident, much more skilled and driven professionals in whatever industry or field or space they choose to get into. I have a lot of confidence in this fellowship's ability to do just that. I'm already starting to see signs of that from some of the fellows in our first cohort, and I think as we get into future cohorts or future portions of this fellowship, we're going to see that happening more and more. So I anticipate that our current set of fellows, or whether it's the current alum or future alum, are definitely going to be some of the more active, some of the more confident, and some of the more engaged professionals in their field. I do anticipate that we'll have stronger writers.
I think this is a great experience. I would encourage any student who has any interest in civic literacy and media influence to apply. I think our fellows will tell you it was a life-changing experience for them. They learned more than they imagined they would have learned through this 12-week process. I think they did an outstanding job, and I think it's going to certainly help them in whatever they decide to do. So if you have any interest, please take a look at the website, check it out, and I encourage you to apply, and I guarantee you that this will be one of the most life-changing experiences you've ever had.